Alright guys, so today's video is on the Back Bay Audio Tempo 30s. Now we have checked out some of Back Bay Audio's earbuds in the past, and I kind of put them in that category with Soundpeats and Earfun. They just seem to bring a lot of value in their earbuds, they're giving you a lot for your money, and you're not really having to spend a lot. In fact, this pair comes in retailing at only 45 bucks. And it's very surprising how comparable this is to another very expensive model, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But we do need to talk about the features that this pair has. We need to talk about what comes inside the box. We need to talk about the audio and see if it's worth the $45 price tag. So to start with, if you're interested in checking these out, they are available in two different colors. I actually have both colors here. They're available in a black model and also a rose gold. And as far as technology goes, they do have Bluetooth 5.0. They also have a bass boost mode, which I'm going to go ahead and tell you now is definitely a must if you're going to be using this pair. And they also have a movie mode. So if you're looking for a pair to use for different types of media like movies, videos, and gaming, this is one of those pairs you can switch over into this so that it pretty much cuts down any kind of lag that you would have. I didn't have any lag with movies, videos, or gaming. But do keep in mind, if you're in this movie mode, you're not going to be able to get as far away from your device, and it's also going to cut down some of your battery life. Now, if you're looking for a pair to use outdoors or possibly at the gym, this is one of those pairs that's completely waterproof. It comes in rated at IPX7, so you definitely don't have to worry if it starts to rain or if they get splashed on. And if you just happen to drop them in water real quick, you don't really have to worry about that either. Now, when it comes to what they've included inside the box, they actually give you 6 sets of silicone ear tips. They're basically giving you 2 different styles. They're giving you the usual small, medium, and large, regular shaped silicone ear tips, but they've also included a smaller, flatter style as well. So if you have a small ear canal, or if you want the earbuds to kind of fit a little bit further into your ear canal so they don't stick out as much, it's nice that you have this option out of the box. And honestly, having those smaller ear tips on really makes this a pair that you can actually lay on your pillow and not feel like it's jamming the earbud into your ear. And I'm one of those that just likes to use my earbuds in bed, so that is definitely a huge plus. Now, when it comes to the charging cable, they did include a USB-C cable, and you are going to have to keep this because this is the only way to charge these. The case is not a Qi wireless charging case, so in this price range, that's kind of to be expected. Now, speaking of the charging, I was really impressed at how much battery life that these got, especially considering how small they are. The earbuds themselves, you're going to get around 8 hours, or with the charging case, you're going to get around 32 hours total. Now, one thing that I wish that this pair did have is a fast charge feature. I didn't see any kind of information on this, so that's just something I've kind of gotten used to because there are times where I pick my earbuds up and they are dead and I may be walking out the door. It's nice to be able to just plug the earbuds in for about 10 minutes and get an hour or 2 hours worth of use. Now, moving over to looking at the actual case itself, it is a very tiny case. You can see it has like a shiny metallic finish to it. Underneath the lid, like when you go to grab the earbuds, the inside part of the case is actually pretty sharp. I noticed that it didn't cut my finger, but it just had an uncomfortable feel to it. So definitely make sure to be careful when you're taking the earbuds out. But as far as anything else, on the back, you can see the USB-C input for charging. And then the indicator lights are actually located underneath the lid and between the earbuds. You have 4 lights here, and this way you can just kind of gauge how much battery life is left on the case. Now, moving over to looking at the earbuds themselves. Now, like I said, I have the black version and the rose gold. Now, the rose gold kind of matches the way that the case looks, but the black version actually has this shiny mirrored finish to it. Now, it looks very clean out of the box, but this material does show fingerprints a little bit easier, so do keep that in mind. You may find yourself having to clean these off a little bit. Now, they do use touch controls, and I'm happy to say that they give you control over everything. And when I say everything, you have your play, your pause, skipping your tracks forward, going backwards, your volume control, your ability to switch it into the movie mode, and then also your ability to switch it into the bass boost mode. There's just so many things that you're able to do, but it goes to show you that you can have all of these controls on the earbuds without having to go to your smart assistant or have an app to be able to move things around. So it was also nice to see them be able to pull this off. Now, if you're someone that does like to use your earbuds for phone calls, this pair has dual microphones. It is using the environmental noise canceling, and I think it does a pretty decent job. I wouldn't say that this is one of the best microphones that I've heard, but I think it blocks out my surroundings pretty well, and you can tell that it's focusing in on picking up my voice. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is a mic test using the Tempo 30s. I think they actually pick up my voice very well. I even noticed that it picks up a little bit of bass tones, which is kind of nice, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test with the crowd noise being played that you can hear here. This is just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound. And before actually getting into the sound itself, I want to go ahead and say that this is probably the loudest pair of earbuds that I've tested. I was surprised at how loud that they could go, but I was also surprised that it never distorted, because there are some earbuds that get pretty loud, but once you get up above a certain level, you start to notice that the bass distorts or the treble just it crackles and it's just too much for the earbuds. And these get loud and they don't distort. I was very impressed. But one thing I do want to say is, out of the box, I'm not a huge fan of the sound that it had. It felt like everything was turned up but the bass. But again, having this bass boost mode that they included definitely changed the way these sounded. In fact, I would say that these almost sound identical to the Galaxy Buds Pro when they're in dynamic mode, but these have louder volume. And to me, that's impressive because there is quite the price gap between these and the Galaxy Buds Pro. But to be a little bit more specific about the sound, this is a very boomy, bass-heavy sound in bass mode, but the bass is airy. They just allow it to breathe somehow. There's not this suffocating of the mids and the treble, because the mids have a very forward approach. I switched between metal and pop and hip hop, and it didn't matter that in metal there's just so much going on. Vocalists always sounded up front, but when you switch over to something like easy listening or country, where it's a little bit more focused on vocalists, vocalists just have so much detail in their voice that it's kind of crazy, again, that it's in an earbud that's this tiny. And when it comes to the treble is very detailed, it's very bright, but it keeps its distance from being harsh. It knows kind of like where it can go to, and then it knows where to stop. So again, if you turn this up loudly, the treble can seem really bright, but you don't have to worry about that sibilant sound where the S's have this really harsh sound to them. And another thing that really surprised me about this pair is the soundstage and the sound imaging, because I kind of thought, all right, if these have this dynamic sound to them and the bass is heavy, I'm gonna sound like I'm closed in a closet. Like, you just don't have a lot of room to breathe. And because they kept the bass airy in these, it opens it up more. And because there's so much focus on the mids and the treble being bright and detailed, I had no issues with being able to tell where things were coming from. And I would say that it made me feel like I was in a larger room. So really, to wrap up my conclusion on this pair, is it's an excellent pair for $45. I mean, I would easily recommend this over spending 3 times as much or 4 times as much on other pairs. And honestly, the only cons that I had with this is I still would have liked to have seen Qi wireless charging or a fast charge feature. And the sound itself is kind of like 0 miles per hour to 100. There's no middle ground, because out of the box it sounded kind of dull because it just lacked low end. But then in bass boost mode, it added so much more punch in the bass department that, again, it was one side or the other and no in between. So if you're somebody that may like a sound signature that's in between, you're not going to get that with this pair. But outside of that, I think those are very minor complaints. I did have to keep in mind that this pair is $45, so sometimes in this price range, it's hard to expect Qi wireless charging, or it's hard to expect a fast charge feature, although we've seen it in other pairs. But what really sold me on this was the sound quality. The sound quality, again, matched much more expensive pairs. So if you have this as a backup pair, this is an excellent backup pair. Or if you just have this as your main pair, you're getting really good battery life mixed with incredible sound in a very small package. So it's kind of hard not to recommend these. But guys, that's my video on the Back Bay Audio Tempo 30s. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.